Good morning, Beeville. This is Cindy Clark from PAC-B TV. Good morning, everybody. I am here this morning with Dr. Joe DeBarbery, the superintendent of Baldwinsville Schools. Good morning, Joe.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank
You've
you
been
for
here
having me.
before, and you've always given us very, very good information. But Joe is going to give us information this morning on the proposed capital improvement project for the whole, well, basically the entire school district. So let's get right into it. Give us a little background, how you got to where you are today, getting ready for the vote.
Yeah. So this has been a decades worth of planning, preparation. This isn't something that came out of thin air. Our previous boards of education, district leadership teams, building administrators, staff have been researching over the last several years how we can improve and enhance our instructional program for all of our students. And so over the course of the last decade, we've done 2 studies that have really looked at that configuration, what we want our school programming to be. And what was unique about this work was that these 2 separate committees that they involved community stakeholders, a wide range of individuals, they came back with the same type of results, which helped the Board of Education and the current district leadership hone in on this ultimate plan that we're putting forward before the voters. And what's unique about this is that it is a multi-year plan, something we haven't really done in the past in this district. And I think it sets the stage for where we're going and creating opportunities for students and staff. So it is a big project, but it is, I think, a project that will really move this district forward.
Now, what is as far as your timing, say it gets approved, and then what's your estimation as to when digging in the ground, when can that start, do you think?
So with successful voter approval in December, on December 10th, we would anticipate beginning the more detailed work in designing the additions. The first addition would be on Ray Middle School. We are estimating right now that the students would be able to enter that new space in September of 2028. So that means if we back things up, we would anticipate construction beginning possibly at the earliest the summer of 2026. One of the things that is important about this work, because it takes so long in order to do a construction project, from approval from the New York State Education Department to shovel in the ground to finished product, it's a 5-year process. And so the fact that we're going out there with this multi-year plan that kind of lays some of this direction out for us allows us to get a jump start on this work and hopefully end up getting through the construction phase at a faster pace than we would if we were to go from project to project to project. So I, again, would anticipate September of 2026, you would definitely see hopefully some shovels in the ground and the work beginning. And again, what's unique about new construction is that for Ray specifically that's getting an addition, that work can go on throughout the entire school year.
Right.
And so it will not impact the instruction that's going on in that building, which I think is a time saver. So there will be certain components of this project that will move along quickly, and then there'll be other areas where there's renovations or tear downs and rebuilding that will take a lot longer, just because we have to navigate students and staff in the buildings, which is not atypical to what we experience in any construction project.
Right. Now, what's your the schools? What would be the next one? I mean, and how do you decide the priority for what the next one is?
Yeah. So a lot of this work has been carefully thought of and timed so that we can maximize our state aid. We get 87 cents per thousand for this work. So it's 87% covered with our New York State building aid and debt falling off. And so one of the things that we try to do, at least we've done more recently, is we try to maximize our maximum cost allowance that is provided by the state. It's the most cost-effective way for us to do this work. And so that cost allowance resets every 5 years. And so we've been strategic about scheduling the phasing of this project so that we're starting with Ray in phase 1. We'll come back to Ray in phase 3 to do some additional renovations of the current building, which will be 5 years from the time of when we start the new construction. So we're taking advantage of what we know is our maximum cost and the timeline that the state provides for us. So in each of the phases, there's components that address every single building, which is important for us. I believe also in phase 1, we hit Eldon, we hit Van Buren, we hit Reynolds, Palmer, and Mack. And then you'll see other times when we come back in phase 2 and 3. And I would certainly encourage folks to visit our website. On our district website, www.bville.org/capital projects, all one word. There are timelines, there's the phasing, there's the more detailed information that will help guide some decision making. But after we hit Ray, as far as the new construction, the other major new build is at Durkee Junior High School, and that would not occur until phase 2.
Okay.
And the reason it can't start any sooner is because Durkee is currently under construction with a project that was approved by voters in May of 2022.
Oh, okay.
So that 5-year plan
is now coming to fruition here, right? Okay.
So 5 years from when it was approved, we can go back, which just so happens to be the timing of our phase 2. And at Durkee, there's that additional grade level that will be added, so a second floor on the front portion of the building, which will allow us to move 7th grade to that space.
Now, what grades are going to be at Durkee?
So when this final reconfiguration is complete, Durkee will be housing grades 7, 8, and 9.
Okay.
Baker will stay the same as grades 10, 11, and 12. Ray Middle School will be converted into an intermediate school or upper elementary school, which will house grades 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
And then all of our elementary schools, the 5 schools that we have now, will house grades PK to 3. There's a little bit of confusion, I think, for some of our folks in the community of whether we will be able to have all 5 elementary schools. I want to put that to rest right now. We are not closing a school.
Good.
You know,
That's a question.
You've been there.
Yep.
You've visited our buildings. We are not closing a school. We are not selling a school. We are not getting rid of anything. We know with the growth that we have in this school community, it's an attractive place. People enjoy what we're providing as far as instructional programming. It's a beautiful place to live. Our growth is increasing, right?
That's right. That's right.
And we have no desire. We know that we're going to need space. But what's important to know with this plan is that we are only able to completely renovate either Eldon or Van Buren in this final multi-year plan because of cost. And so we will likely have to do another project, within an 8 to 10 year time frame where we can finish the renovations in one of those spaces. If we threw that in, we would be talking about a project that's close to $300 million. And there was a little bit of concern with that number. And we think we've right-sized this project over that 8-year period. But I think it's important for our community to know that every building will be touched. And one of those oldest buildings will be completely redone.
Well, now you said, what is the timing again on the total construction for all the phases? What's your anticipation?
We are anticipating a new school, and the final new school being open for either Eldon or Van Buren in 2034. Okay. So, like I said, it's about an 8 to 10 year window when you think about from voter approval to when we have students in the space. And it will likely require us, we will always have capital improvement projects, right? It's a way for us to take advantage of the funding that's provided by the state. They certainly won't be this large, but we will be continuing to think about how we can improve so that we plan forward after all of this work is complete. So The beauty of this multi-year plan, though, is that voters won't see project after project every year or two, at least for the next several years, because we've laid out this multi-year plan.
Well, it certainly does cover a lot. I guess it does. Now, when you're talking about the state aid and all, let's get into an area that a lot of people that I have spoken with about this project, it's a concern. It's a concern. So if you could kind of lay out the financial impact of the project throughout the construction time period.
Yeah. So this project is in total not to exceed $242 million, which seems like a large number. But when you really break that down, as I mentioned earlier, 87% of this project is covered through state aid and or debt that's already falling off. We have 7% of the project, which is around 18 million, covered from our reserves, our capital reserves. So when you really look at the impact on the taxpayers, it's about 6% of the overall project, which is $14.5 million. And that $14.5 million is essentially paid back through our bonding over the course of a 20-year period. So when you look at the way I've been explaining this to folks, we are getting $242 million worth of work for only $14.5 million. And that's a pretty darn good deal.
It sure is.
And when you break it down to how it impacts our homeowners, because we're utilizing reserves, we actually do not see an impact on our taxpayers until the 28-29 school year. So that would be the first year of them seeing an impact. And that impact is only 10 cents per thousand on the value of a home. So we're using the example of $250,000 because the median home value in Baldwinsville now, due to growth, is $250,000. So when you take that 10 cents per thousand and you work those numbers for a homeowner that has a home at $250,000, the annual cost is $25. And so I've been describing to folks, like, you can't go to McDonald's, Panera Bread, any of our local pizza joints to get a meal for that dollar amount. And so when you think of, okay, that's the first impact, that's going to help us get $242 million worth of work, it seems like it's a dream that can't be passed up, right? A deal that can't be passed up. And we really believe that it is because of the fact that we have been very thoughtful with our fiscal advisors, our architects, our construction management firms to design this multi-year plan in a way that is most effective, efficient, and cost-saving venture for our school community. To even make that a little bit clearer, because there's only a 6-year window where there's that 10 cents per thousand assessment increase. If we were to look at this over the course of the 20 years where we bond, and we were to put, the STAR exemption and this enhanced STAR exemption on the table for our homeowners, and look at the cost over that 20-year period that it will actually impact folks, those that have that same $250,000 home, if they are on the basic STAR, which I think is the majority of folks, over the course of that 20 years, the individual homeowner cost for a $250,000 home is $85 over the course of that 20-year period. So divide that $85 by 20, and you know what the annual impact will be. For those that have the enhanced STAR, we're talking over that 20-year period, $35.53.
Isn't it amazing?
It's not a lot. It is amazing. I mean, that's why this is it appears to be too good to be
true.
Absolutely.
I know.
But we're taking advantage of state aid, our reserves, and phasing in a way that maximizes our aid that we get from the state.
Now, as far as the date of the vote, that all factors in as far as your state aid and the availability or applying
So our fiscal advisors have really helped us phase this in a way where we know we don't just get the money up front. I mean, it's phased in a way. We don't start to bond until the work begins. So it's structured in a way over the course of this entire project that we're taking advantage of not having fees, and the aid flow doesn't really start until we begin the construction and we're submitting bills. So we've planned things in such a way that we're taking advantage of our savings account, our capital reserve that voters have been authorizing over the last several years. We will use that up front to help our taxpayers and how we approach. And that's, again, why we don't have the impact starting for folks until the 28-29 school year.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, now, as far as the different schools, the improvements, which school has the largest improvement? Is it Ray with the addition, or?
I would say our 3 secondary buildings have the largest improvements, right?
Okay.
And the reason behind that is we get more aid for those buildings, so we're taking advantage of reconstruction in those spaces. The way New York State allocates funding, it is all based on per pupil, and secondary level students, grades 7 through 12, there's more aid that's generated as opposed to aid for elementary buildings. It doesn't make sense, but that's just the way our system operates. So those buildings will get more work completed, but it is work that has to happen. So with these shifts, the additional grade level being added on Durgee, the additional grade level being added onto Ray, allows us to free up space so that the work being done in all of our elementary schools really creates a more flexible, larger learning environment for our students. When you think of the work, I mean, you visited Van Buren on that building tour. In Eldon, those buildings specifically, built in the 50s, are cinder block walls. You cannot move them, right? They're just not in, there's tight spaces. When they were designed, the requirements for square footage for classrooms was significantly different than what it is today. So our goal in all of this work is to be able to expand and modernize our spaces so that they're more appropriate, right? We have larger classrooms, more flexible classrooms, flexibility to add additional spaces. When you think about the work for some of our most in need students with student services, special education, our RTI support, occupational and physical therapy, those students with our staff are working in spaces that are really, really small, and they need full classroom spaces to be, able to move and effective, right? And so part of this work, by getting additional grade levels out of our elementary schools, it allows us to keep those footprints, but to expand our classrooms and to create these other spaces that will make the learning experiences so much more positive and effective for our students.
Well, I know, because I hadn't been in Van Buren, because I came, when I started here many years ago, that wasn't available. And some of the areas we were pressed, the district obviously was pressed for space, were not at all good for learning. I have to tell you, they were dark and depressing, and I remember those. Obviously, how many years later that it was almost a frightening experience, because they were, the district was up against it. So then when I went to on your tour the other night to Van Buren, of course, it was a lot different than what I grew up with in the early elementary years. But I'm thinking, as you're taking me through and I'm looking at all these cramped spaces and what you've had to work with, like you're talking about the cinder blocks, I had no idea about any of that. But just watching and looking at the space or lack thereof, but in spite of it all, it was a pleasant experience. Even taking into consideration that they're cramped and you've made the best out of a bad situation to accommodate probably a lot of situations now that are state required that weren't when I was in school. Correct.
Yeah. When these buildings were designed, that was not the case. Our staff, I mean, they do a great job. Our custodial staff
Fabulous.
maintaining our buildings, our instructional staff providing that nurturing learning environment for our students. I mean, they have done marvelous things with what they have.
Yes, they have.
But I think our community is at least owed an opportunity to get into what I would consider to be the 21st
century. That's exactly what I was thinking too.
And it's interesting because as I've gone across the district and had these presentations and tours with community members, families, parents of children within our district, it's been interesting to see and interact with folks that went to school in Baldwinsville, and to say that when they look back at their elementary experiences specifically, and they are saying that these buildings look exactly the same, speaks to the fact that they're well maintained.
Absolutely.
But that now is definitely the time for change and improvement. And what better way to put us forward, moving in a direction that's going to take us to the next level as a school community than to work through these improvements.
Well, and I can definitely see the value of it. Like I say, when I was in school and the experience that I had, even looking at lighting, cheerfulness, it wasn't there. It was dark, and because that's all that was to be offered at the time. But in spite of that, many of us made through. We did all right, and that's fine. But the fact that I remember the dark and the dreary, and I have to feel that these kids too, like with Van Buren, in spite of the lack of space and what you've been working with and trying to accommodate with state rules and increased student levels, you've done a great job. I was thoroughly impressed. I'd never been in that school. I'm almost embarrassed to say that. Never been in that school, but it was clean, it was cheerful, it was well lit, it was well thought out. Because as I'm going through looking at it and seeing, some of the little pictures and drawings on the walls and in the rooms, I felt almost a sense of joy, truly I did. And I'm thinking, we have to take care of these kids. Right. We have to make this learning experience a good, solid, memorable learning experience because you're only young once.
Right.
And we have to be, as a community, we have to provide everything that we possibly can to encourage these kids to grow and thrive in our community, because they're going to be tomorrow's leaders and business owners and all of this. And if they have a wonderful experience here, a wonderful learning experience, social experience, that's what we need. And I can see this happening. It's happening now, but I can see it happening even more with this improvement.
Right. No,
definitely.
Kudos to our staff. They do a wonderful job every single day. The way I also think about this is that, from the perspective of any investment in our schools is an investment in our community, and it's going to make this place an even more attractive place. We do have folks trying to move into the community. We hear it from others. They reach out, are there places they want their kids to go here? This is only going to make us that much more attractive, and that's good for our homeowners. That's good for our community
everybody
as a whole. Absolutely.
It is. I couldn't agree with you more. Well, I think we've kind of hit on the important facts here. A lot of people have asked me when I've been out in the community, is there anything else you can think of that you want to draw to the community's attention, or?
Just that, when you think about the instructional opportunities this creates for students, a lot of this work with our seventh graders being truly in a secondary building on our main campus, they'll have access to all of the secondary level coursework, opportunities for enrichment, career learning pathways, acceleration, the fine and performing arts. That was a big shift in trying to get them on our main campus, and so this allows us to do that. It also allows for those other spaces for our student support services to be improved and enhanced. For the 4, 5, and 6 age band of our grade level band of students, that's more appropriate, right, for the type of instruction that those students engage in. They're ready for moving beyond elementary school. They're ready for a little independence. They're ready for that controlled structure yet flexibility that we're hoping to have within that new intermediate school or upper elementary school, being Ray, as it transitions. The benefits for our staff, the fact that they can work collaboratively together day in, day out in one building. If they're a 4th and 5th grade teacher, ensures that we have consistent instructional programming. It allows us to make sure that our class sizes for those important grades of 4 and 5 and 6 are more equally distributed, because it's tough to do right now when you have the various attendance zones that we have across the district. And it allows us to keep that focus from UPK to grade 3 truly on primary level instruction, your literacy instruction, your math and science instruction, and it really, I think, lays the foundation for all of the transitions that will happen after that for our students. So we think we've been thoughtful in the approach, and when I say we, those that were on the committees that participated, the feedback, our staff. This is an exciting time for Baldwinsville.
It is, yeah.
We're very optimistic that our voters see that as well, and that we'll be able to continue moving forward following a successful vote on December 10th.
Oh, very good, very good. If anybody has any questions, what would be the best way to address those questions?
Certainly check out our website. Again, that's www.beeville.org/capital projects. We do have a thorough Q&A that has been created across this entire process in putting getting feedback from folks, having these presentations. We always add the questions that we receive if they're pertinent, so that people have answers. So I would encourage people to visit the website. We have a lot of promotional videos. Hopefully some will be added on to this
Yes, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. Just let me interrupt for just 1 second. We are going to try to include some of the videos from the district website within this interview. So we've kind of touched lightly on some of the things, but if you want a little more in-depth explanation, they will be on these videos that we want to attach to the interview.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will give a plug to our students at Baker High School. They've created these videos. They've done an outstanding job. They are high quality. You talk about some of the things we want our students to experience, the real world experiences, the career pathways. They were boots on the ground, doing all this work, and it is
I was impressed. I was thoroughly impressed. I was going to put a kudos out to your staff and to all of the people involved with the video, because it was incredible. The talent is incredible. Absolutely.
I would also encourage our community that if you have questions, there's a lot of folks that sat on focus groups. Certainly reach out to me and other district leaders, the Board of Education. They're well versed in this project. We want you to have the right information. We want you to make an informed decision as you come out to vote. We'd like it if you could help to enhance our hive. That's our slogan at this point, yeah. and we feel it's important. We would not be advocating for this if we didn't think it was what was best for our students, for our school community, for our staff. And we just want people to have the right information. So email, reach out, utilize our website. We have contact information there. Call the district office. We'll arrange whether it's a phone conversation, a personal conversation if you want to come to the building. And then last but not least, we do have a public hearing that is scheduled on December 2nd at 6 p.m. prior to our next scheduled regular Board of Education meeting.
Okay.
That's at the Transportation Center, and where our typical board meetings are. But we would encourage folks to come there, and if they have questions, we just want you to have the right information. So.
And what is the date of the vote and where and the times?
December 10th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And that's at the District Operations Building right on the main campus there near Baker High School. It's the former bus garage or transportation center right off Albert Palmer Lane. Right. It's where we typically have run our last few annual budget votes. So same location. Please come out and vote. And we'll
You'll be there to help out. You'll be there to help and answer
absolutely.
any questions you may have. Thanks again, Joe, for coming. I appreciate it. I hope this clarifies for some of our viewers. It certainly has for me. And I hope that if you do have questions, like he said, you contact them. Contact him, contact the district office, the website, whatever you want to do. But if you do have questions, please let them know. And again, the vote is on December 10th from 6 to
9 p.m.
6 to 9 p.m. Okay. But again, thanks, Joe. I appreciate you
No
coming here and
problem.
spending time.
No problem. Thank you for having me. The most important parts of this capital improvement project are the fact that it is a multi-year plan that we have put together after decades worth of research, planning, surveying and questioning our school community to get a better sense of what we want our instructional program to be in the future here in the Baldwinsville Central School District. The other unique component to this multi-year plan is that it takes into consideration every single building across the district. There is a focus primarily on our middle school, or what will become our intermediate school, the junior high school with an additional grade level reconfiguration, and work to our primary level classrooms across the district in our elementary schools. So our universal pre-K, our kindergarten, our first grade classrooms all get reconfigured to improve the learning experiences for some of our earliest learners.
The opportunity to move the 7th grade level to the main campus, I think, is beneficial for both students and teachers. For students, they're going to have access to athletic and musical and artistic opportunities that traditionally have only been available here on the main campus. They are probably better situated as far as a peer group with their 8th and 9th grade level students. It is an opportunity to have schools built on a 3-year platform. We know that over time, too many transitions can result in a drop in academic performance. So students who are able to maintain some continuity within a school for 3 years or more tend to perform better as far as the research has shown. So we will build probably stronger classes. They will be together as a unit for a longer period of time. And then when they make the transition to a high school level from the 7, 8, 9 level, they're ready to continue with that growth pattern. So 3-year platforms for each school tend to benefit students overall.
This project is going to be financed through the majority of state building aid and retiring debt at approximately 87% of the project. Another 7% will be coming from our school savings, so our capital project reserve, as well as other available funds. And then the remainder would be from our local tax base, approximately 6% of the project.
Historically, school districts look at what's just in front of them, and they do it a project at a time. This is a long-term plan, and it all falls together, piece by piece by piece, which is the right way to do planning, is to put a plan together and then lay it out, get it approved, and execute it. That saves you a lot of time and money in the long run.
Lastly, I would like to thank our school community for coming out to vote on December 10th and supporting our schools. That's what it's all about, and I'm grateful for being in such a supportive school community.
These upgrades are important because, number one, the length of time that students spend at Ray Middle School, we're excited to extend that from 2 to 3 years. We feel like giving students that opportunity to have a longer period of time to build relationships with their peers, with their teachers, will only make them stronger students, secondary students, as they move to Durkee Junior High School and to Baker.
The upgrades are important because we will be bringing our classrooms into the 21st century and really addressing those 21st century skills that students need to be most successful as they not only are here in Baldwinsville, but once they leave Baldwinsville as well.
Adding a whole new wing to our building, it's going to majorly increase our footprint having that new grade here at Ray Middle School. Bringing our classroom spaces, our learning spaces up to 21st century standards, and our specials areas also are going to allow students the opportunity to continue to be creative, become critical thinkers, and explore new areas of study.
We see our students, especially at the beginning of the year, struggling with things like lockers and just the layout of the school, and I just think the new addition is going to make Ray a better place for students to come. It's going to alleviate a lot of the just stress that they deal with, especially at the start of the school year.
Likewise, our staff are going to have upgraded teaching spaces where they can be creative to deploy new learning experience for students, giving them every opportunity and every resource that they need to continue to grow here in Beeville.
These facilities are going to match the programs and the product we put on the field, because the product we put on the field, athletically, musically, it's unmatched by anyone in our area.
Well, we're excited to offer more independence to students here at Baldwinsville in an earlier age, whether it's transitioning to classes and experience with peers. We're excited to be able to start that a few years earlier than we do right now.
So one of the questions that we've been asked by members of our community are what grade levels this current plan will impact. Our grade 3rd through 11th grade students will not be impacted by this reconfiguration, but they will reap the benefits of having newer classrooms at Ray, Durkee, and Baker over the course of their time here in the Baldwinsville Central School District. Our current 2nd graders will have grades 3 through 5 at their current elementary schools. They'll have 6th grade at Ray Middle School in September of 2028, and then they'll transition to Eldon Elementary School as 7th graders in September of 2029, prior to moving to Durkee Junior High School in 8th grade in September of 2030. Our current 1st grade students will have grades 2 through 4 at their current elementary schools. They'll move to grade 5 at Ray in September of 2028, and then they'll transition to Eldon as 7th graders in September of 2030, prior to moving to Durkee Junior High School for 8th grade in September of 2031.
I think being an alumni of Baldwinsville myself and a graduate of Baker High School, I think it's exciting to think that we're making these upgrades for our students, our staff, and our community. I know that a lot of the facilities, I actually was an Eldon student myself, we haven't seen a lot of change to them in many years, and it's exciting to think that we're going to start making these changes to benefit everyone. I'm a parent myself. I have 3 students who are members of the Baldwinsville community, 2 who go to Eldon and 1 who will be at Eldon next year. And I think it's really exciting, all of the different ideas that are coming, and I think just creating more opportunities, larger classrooms, more technology, and just better learning spaces will be beneficial for all kids. And I think especially the parents of those younger students, it just is very exciting to see how their learning can be positively impacted by all of the changes. I think especially for Eldon, we have a wonderful building, but it's an older building. So I think just updating, main parts of the building, but then also creating more space. We're kind of tucked into all these little corners throughout the building. And again, just having those larger spaces creates more opportunities. And just, it will be exciting for students to have a new, fresh learning environment. Some of the long-term academic effects that we look forward to seeing is our teachers being able to focus on instruction at a pre-K through third grade level, and having the ability to focus on foundational standards, particularly in literacy, will give our teachers the ability to work with grade level bands so that they can make sure that our instruction is aligned from pre-K through third grade.
I definitely think 4th and 5th graders are ready for being more independent. In 5th grade, really what our goal is all year, one of our big goals is knowing that we have to help prepare these kids for a middle school transition. So we're really giving them a lot of independence and freedom of choice as a 5th grader. So I definitely think they're ready for the challenge. And I think 4th graders the same.
Everyone is excited about updated facades and the way that buildings look. It's such an important part of the community. Kids will have opportunities to experience new spaces moving forward. Those gym spaces, the cafeteria, kids spend so much time in those areas. Just generally the excitement, I think, will come, to the community based on all those renovations and, all the new things that the capital improvement project will bring to Baldwinsville Central School District.
Currently, the size of our gym is 15 meters in length, so it's quite small in there. We have a dividing wall that separates us from the cafeteria, so it gets super loud in there during lunch times, as you can imagine. And overall, just a really kind of outdated and tight space. Having a full-size gymnasium would be a huge improvement here. It would allow us to do way more activities, and overall safety would be a huge benefit for safety. We have some classes of 26 students, and it's pretty tight in there in that small space. So that many kids in such a small space, it makes it hard for kids not to crash into each other, and you have to really limit the activities that you choose to do and teach. So it doesn't give us the ability to do a full scope of activities or lesson plans and things like that.
I think as a classroom teacher, hoping to have some updates in the classroom and like bathrooms, things like that, that I was a Palmer student, and I think some of those classrooms look exactly the same as when I was a student here at Palmer. So I think just overall giving a facelift and updating our building.
I think some of the most important parts of the capital project for Reynolds would mean are outfitting the building to best serve our pre-K through 3 population in order to meet the different developmental needs that students in those grade levels face.
The classrooms that will be changed will be much more primary friendly and easy for the kids to use and enjoy. I'm really excited about having more pre-K in one building. I think that's going to be great, and I love the idea of having more space for them to move around and to learn and grow.
Well, I think as a 5th grade teacher, we are bound to the 5th grade schedule and the 5th grade times, which definitely changes things in the activities that we can look at. I think that, kids that are allowed to go, if let's say 4th and 5th moves to Ray, they're going to be looking at more activities after school that they can do, more things that they can be a part of that their schedule doesn't allow them to be a part of right now, because they don't get out home till almost 4 o'clock in the elementary schools. So I think those are some of the advantages they'd have as well.
Well, I think the capital project is overdue in that Van Buren Elementary is quite an old school. I think it's one of the older schools in the district. I think we were built in the 1950s, post-war, and as a cinder block building, it needs some TLC. And so a capital project would provide that opportunity to come into the building and make those changes that would help modernize the building and make it more student-friendly.
Well, in terms of structure, we don't really have enough classrooms here, so I look forward to seeing how we can make some improvements in size and just updating our building. But in terms of instruction, I keep saying collaborate, but I really think that teachers need the opportunity to collaborate with more teachers at their grade level. I think that the changes will be helpful for that.
I think a school is one of the most important components of any community, and the attention that you pay to the buildings where children are educated, and children come here right now, they're here for 7 years when they go pre-K through 5, that the care and attention that you give to the building says how committed you are also to education and supporting the children in the community. So I think a capital project is a good way to do that. because we want this to be a space where students feel cared for and welcomed and can thrive in every way possible.
We are extremely excited about this multi-year plan and what it will mean for the students in the Baldwinsville Central School District. We're excited about the fact that as students transition through these grade levels in this reconfiguration, that their experiences will be enriched. So one of the questions that our community members have asked is, will we be closing an elementary school in this reconfiguration? And the answer to that is absolutely not. We have no intentions of selling, closing, or reducing the number of elementary schools in our district. This plan, this innovative plan, actually gives us the opportunity to completely renovate one of our oldest buildings, either Eldon or Van Buren, and it still gives us the opportunity to complete renovations in the other school. So when all is said and done, this multi-year plan is finished, we will have the same number of elementary schools in this district that we have currently, with 5. And it is our belief that over time, because of the growth that we are anticipating with Micron and other advanced manufacturing and businesses and residential development in this community, that we will actually be adding a 6th elementary school over time. So this is extremely exciting for our district to have the anticipated growth that we are going to be experiencing, and it's a great time to be a Baldwinsville Bee.
I think one of the biggest impacts is going to give students state-of-the-art facilities to work in and to be in and to learn in. It's going to put us right there with all the other buildings in our region that are doing capital projects. So it's going to be it's going to have big implications and help students in a big way.
I think the biggest thing is having 7th grade come to our building is going to allow us to have more time and build a better sense of community with students. Currently, just having students for 8th and 9th grade, by the time you get to know them, they've already moved on. So I think being able to establish more continuity with students, knowing students, what their needs are, and how we can better support them.
I'm a special ed teacher, so there's a lot of moving around throughout the day and needing, quieter spaces or spaces that help with student sensory needs. I think it's really exciting that we're going to have different facilities and whatnot for that, and then also more facilities to work on life skills things, things that are really going to matter in the real world.
I just think it would create new opportunities that we haven't been able to do or implement yet. I'm thinking back to the last couple of years on the CART. There have been some labs and activities that I haven't done just because it's hard to move resources from classroom to classroom.
Especially being a phys ed teacher here, and being actually a former student at Baldwinsville and going to Durkee, seeing a new gym start to be in place, it's pretty exciting. It's definitely needed for the students, so really excited.
In the over 2 decades that I've been at Durkee, I have noticed a definite need for a physically larger space. When I arrived in Baldwinsville, it was shortly after the initial reconfiguration of this building where an entire wing was added. And I remember we were still bursting at the seams, teachers on carts. We couldn't allow students to have book bags at the time because they physically wouldn't pass each other in the hall comfortably. I noticed that we are still in need of some more classroom space, modernizing of the space. The physical building itself has really taken a beating just by virtue of the sheer volume of students that have passed through. I think an improvement in the infrastructure of the building, improvement in the tech that is available to the students will just be tremendously important. I've always felt that Baldwinsville and Durkee specifically could be held as flagship schools in the county. And I believe this capital project may actually get us closer to that, which I always thought was a worthy goal.
We're very excited. Having the new technology and having some updated
computer labs and opportunities in our classroom. They're giving us a lot of updated materials that we weren't able to utilize in our old classrooms. Having this is going to give us a lot more diversity and opportunities and lessons to incorporate into our curriculums in the art department and our curriculum.
The schools really are the face of the community, and when it comes to our events here, whether it be sports, PTA, fine arts, our plays, just that school community connection is going to be a lot easier, because who doesn't want to come to a wonderful space?
Well, there's several things that are taking place with the next renovation in this capital project. Again, we've talked a little bit about the technology spaces, some of the classrooms that haven't been renovated or touched in many years. But there are also going to be some upgrades to some of the facilities here, both in and outside of the building, that are really taking into consideration traffic patterns and traffic flows. And that will make a big difference to everybody here that comes to the campus.
Well, I think the best part of this is if you look at what's going on campus right now with all the projects going on, I think we're continuing to keep the ball rolling with that. Anything we're doing to expand the school is going to help with the students, student athletes, and in particular, obviously, in the second phase where they're going to replace the turf. And the track is definitely beneficial. We've had the turf since 2016. There is a life expectancy to that. Each year we make sure that it's maintained. Our grounds crew does a great job with that. And each year we have it certified so that it is safe. And we'll continue to do that. However, there is a life expectancy to that, and replacing it will just kind of keep us in a good spot along with the track, and making sure that we have these outlets for our student athletes, our physical education classes to be able to use, and we'll keep it going that way.
Students are going to see firsthand. They're going to be the ones to experience these changes, not only at our elementary levels, which so desperately need it. Our middle school and junior high levels will be affected as well. But here at Baker High School, our students are going to get a chance to have new updated science rooms, have new updated technology rooms, and all the other areas that'll be impacted that really haven't been touched by renovation since I've been here almost 30 years ago. Having the opportunity to teach students in a modern, state-of-the-art learning environment, it's going to be great for our teachers. They're going to be able to have a bigger impact on our students, and at the end of the day, that's really why we're all here.
I think that the upgrades are extremely important because this school is really the center of our Baldwinsville community. As the high school principal, I have the very unique opportunity of meeting with alumni that come here for their reunions to visit, and they come here and they'll do tours, and so I give tours of the building all the time, and it's a very interesting experience for me to be able to look and talk to alumni that were students here 50, sometimes 60 years ago, and they remember what this place was to them and how important it was to their futures. And they always reflect a bit on how different things are and how the district has done a great job of updating facilities and providing great spaces for students and staff. And they also reflect a bit on how there are some parts of the building that haven't changed. And so it is a very unique experience to give these tours because you get to kind of see that the district has done a great job of maintaining this learning space for our community. And it's time for us to continue to be forward thinking and think about how we can make sure that this space is the right space for our students and our school community for years to come.